What the hell? Every experience will pass. A love once felt seems to be lost. Thought comes in with this or that. The bliss makes space for feeling flat. We're holding on to at all cost. It's so simple, it's bizarre. Love is who you really are. Love is freedom, love is truth, love is consciousness, it's you. You're not that old repertoire. There is nothing outside of love. There is only you. Everywhere you look, everything you touch, every experience, it is all a plain you. There's sometimes clarity, sometimes smoke. You're sometimes rich, you're sometimes broke. You're going up, you're feeling down. It looks so great, but now you're drowned. Can't you see it's all a joke? Because there is nothing outside of love. There is only you. Everywhere you look, everything you touch, every experience, it is all a plain you. There is nothing outside of love. There is only you. Everywhere you look, everything you touch, every experience, it is all a plain you. It is all a plain you. It is just a game in you.
Hello, everybody, and welcome. Lovely to see you all. Oh, welcome to people who are joining this webinar for the first time. And of course, a very warm welcome to those who have joined many times before. Also, I want to thank you for your donations. It's all very helpful. So, today's theme is how to be free from suffering. Oh, and also hello to all those who are watching on YouTube now and in the future, which will also be now, of course. So let's start by just closing our eyes, taking some deeper breaths. Letting everything else that was happening before this session go. Allowing yourself to just be here now. Nothing else needs to be bothered with right now. Just bringing all your energy, all your attention to this present experience right now. You can scan this body, just noticing whatever is here. It's all so welcome, just the way it is. And as you scan this body, just noticing whatever is here, notice if there are any thoughts about whatever is here, whatever sensation is felt. If thought has some kind of label or commentary or opinion, judgment about whatever is here. And just noticing that. And that is also welcome to be here. Just the way it is. But just because the thinking says whatever it says, it doesn't mean that it's true. But it's still welcome to say, to chatter away. But it doesn't mean that it's true. Noticing if there are any feelings, emotions. They're also absolutely welcome to be here. And also noticing how the thinking might add fuel to the fire of an emotion by a commentary or an opinion about it. It adds drama. It makes it important or a big problem. But when we don't simply believe thought to be true, then this emotion can just be here as it is and doesn't mean anything. Noticing the sounds. I don't know if you can hear the dog barking here. They're all sounds that are absolutely welcome to be here. Even if there is a response in the body. And when you're ready, we can open our eyes and come back to the screen and the beautiful people here on this screen. So, how to be free from suffering? Well, of course, this is a trick title, essentially, because it's not about being free from anything. It's always about being free with. The freedom that you are doesn't depend on whether there is suffering or not. It doesn't need suffering to go away in order to be free. Our true nature, life itself, freedom itself, is beyond all experience. And an experience of suffering arises in who you are, in that awareness of this experience. But this is not some kind of way of avoiding the uncomfortable sensations by escaping into the absolute. That would be some kind of mind game where you end up having a different experience or trying to change your uncomfortable experience to some kind of distant, more spaced out experience, as if that will save you or protect you from suffering. So the absolute freedom that I'm pointing to is not any kind of experience. It's a knowing that is always known. You know right now. And how do you know? Because it's you. It's you, it's your nature. This knowing is always your nature. And how do I know that it's your nature? Because it's my nature. And this nature is not personal. It's not about me in here or you in there. It's beyond separation. It's beyond boundaries, beyond bodies, beyond space and time. Always free. Always aware of whatever is happening. Always free with whatever is happening. So this is the bottom line, really. This is the most essential knowing. And it's not a but, it's and. In the human experience, there may well be suffering. And in the human experience, it's very natural to want to be free from it, to want to find a way out, or some kind of technique or practice or some kind of state that we can escape to so that we don't have to feel it. But essentially, this doesn't work long term. It might work in the short term, but it's a lot of effort to maintain some kind of beautiful state where you don't feel the uncomfortable stuff. And eventually it becomes too much effort. Eventually you can see that it's hopeless that you will ever find a permanent state where you're free from suffering. So then it leaves you falling back into the suffering and looking at it more closely. Especially when you recognize that your true nature is that awareness of it all, always free, then we look at the human experience with curiosity. You know, what's going on here? This is interesting. Why am I feeling like I'm suffering when my true nature is never suffering? You know, what a contrast, what a painful contrast that creates even more suffering. But when we look at the nature of suffering with curiosity, as I said, so we're not trying to get rid of it. We're not trying to clean it up to make it all disappear. We're not trying to somehow wave a magic wand and then that's it. The rest of your life will be easygoing. It doesn't work like that. But when we look at the nature of it, we might feel that there is suffering when we're in a certain situation where we are triggered, when an old story starts playing out as if it's real right now. And with that story comes a physical sensation, painful or frightening, quite intense sensation perhaps. And then with that is the belief that this, all that is happening in that moment is, this means something about me. And that meaning for me or about me is what causes the suffering, essentially. The trigger, the moment where you feel the reaction in whatever situation, this is an old thing playing out again innocently. You know, we come into this world as these little innocent children. We don't know how to be in this world. So like sponges, we soak up whatever is going on around us, what our parents are doing, our family, our society. And then, of course, we go through traumas and tragedies in our lives, and then we learn behaviors to deal with these things, to survive. All very natural, all very innocent, nothing wrong. But when we believe that those mechanisms actually will save us, you know, actually will protect a me, then that adds fuel to the fire. But when we can see that actually, okay, this is happening for this human in this moment, but I'm not limited to this human. I'm not in here, actually. In fact, my true nature is aware of this human, feeling and sensing everything, but I'm not in here. So therefore, if some trigger happens here, and there's some reaction or some uncomfortable stuff happening, none of it means anything about who I am. It doesn't mean that I'm not spiritual, or I'm not awakened, or I'm not aware. It doesn't mean that I'm not there yet, whatever there is. It doesn't mean that there's something wrong with me. It doesn't mean that I'm unworthy. It doesn't mean that I'm bad. In fact, we can look at this human, as I said, with curiosity and compassion, because this human is trying its best to survive in this crazy world. So of course, it's very natural that sometimes there are going to be mechanisms that play out here to try to navigate in a world where we don't really understand what the hell is going on most of the time. But if we can have compassion for this human and curiosity, then these mechanisms come to light more and more in their own time. And there's no rush, because none of them mean anything about who I am, so they're welcome to be here forever. This is the freedom, right? Who I really am is already free. So I'm not trying to clean up all these mechanisms in order to be free, because I'm already free as my true nature. So when I identify with my true nature, and this isn't some escape, it's simply knowing that my true nature is that, and then I'll fully feel whatever is happening here, even if it's uncomfortable. And it might often well be uncomfortable, because we're human and we go through a lot of uncomfortable stuff in this life. But knowing that none of it means anything about me, this is the end of real suffering. There may be discomfort that arises, but there's the layer, the extra layer around it that makes it mean something about me. This is not believed in. And therefore, it's all welcome to be here. And there's a great compassion for this human, knowing that she or he will never be perfect according to any beautiful spiritual concept. There'll never be a freedom from suffering. There's always the freedom with, because that freedom is the natural compassion for this human. That freedom holds this human just the way he or she is. In all the mess, in all the discomfort, in all the triggers and the reactions, in all the traumas and the wounds, when it doesn't mean anything about who I am, I'm already free. I'm always free. And in knowing that, these mechanisms can slowly, slowly, in their own time, unravel. They come to light because there's no part of me that's making them mean something. Therefore, there's no fight. So then, when they're ready to be revealed, to come to more consciousness, they do. When we're ready to bring the attention out of the thinking, more to the body, to feel the sensations of that trigger, of that discomfort, rather than running with the story. When we're willing and courageous enough to stay simply feeling the sensation, sometimes burning in that same sensation, but knowing that it doesn't mean anything about who I am, this gives us the courage to feel it all. So I'd love to hear from you. If you have any questions about what I've said, or anything related to this theme, you can just raise your hand and unmute yourself. And of course, if you want to type a question in the chat at some point, I will look at those at the end as well. Rose, hi.
Hi. Yeah, I suppose I just want to kind of thank you. That was I don't know what it was. But I think I just wanted to clarify something in myself, because I got this kind of, at the end, I got this quite simple sense that it's about feeling, just about feeling.
Yeah.
And there's so much resistance. And that's the kind of wanting to escape. But actually to feel isn't a small thing. Because when you said to burn in it, it's like jumping on a fire sometimes.
Yeah. It can feel almost like a death, the death of this meaning for me, when we just stop and feel it, knowing that, even if I die, then so be it. This is what's here, and I'm not moving from here.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to say, because I mean, it's not simple, but just that feeling, I just needed to hear myself say it just to feel.
Yeah, wonderful. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, sometimes we need to kind of put it up there on the wall or something, or on our foreheads.
Yeah.
Just feel. Stop and feel.
Thank you.
Thank you. Michiel.
Hey,
Hi.
so I'm trying to see how I can use it in actual situation,
Okay.
So let's say like there is
Oh, sorry, Michiel. I just muted you by mistake because I was letting Ruth in.
it's okay.
Yeah.
So let's say there's like like something happening, and then there is the emotion and the thoughts, and you talk about this, like what does it mean about me, like what does it say about me? I'm just trying to see like how I can like look at it in my daily life at this specific layer, and and kind of become aware of it. Like kind of, maybe it's a bit technical question, but if I'm triggered or if I'm going for an intensity, I assume the first thing is just to be present with what's happening.
Well, the meaning part of it usually will feel quite exciting. That meaning for me, it can give a feeling in the body of excitement, even if it's a negative excitement, but it still can feel like a buzz somehow. And that's how you can discern, okay, I'm buying into this meaning for me.
Like, for example, like it can be like subtle, like usually, oh, it's still the same, I still have the same stuff, for example, which means I'm not evolved enough, or I'm failing, so this what you mean, like.
Yeah. And when you have those kind of thoughts, bring the attention to the sensations and notice, how does this body feel when I have these stories about me? You may notice that there is a rush of excitement. It might be subtle, or it might be even really strong. But because you're used to putting your attention on your thoughts in that moment, you overlook the excitement, how you're getting high in that moment.
High, you mean like also like angry, or like?
No, No, not necessarily. You might be, but
'Cause if you feel like as a failure, like what do you mean like high? Usually you feel like
it's maybe with that one, it would be perhaps more subtle, because
Yeah.
with the failure story, you might have some other sensations, a kind of, like maybe of a heaviness or something like that. But with that, it's perhaps a more subtle thing to notice. There's this extra layer of like, some kind of, and it is, the only word I can put to it is excitement. Really, it's or adrenaline rush. Like I'm, if you were to consider not having that story of being a failure, your mind might consider that it would be a bit boring without that story. And that's how you know that with that story, you're getting a bit excited.
kind of like an addiction to a specific like image or a specific story about me.
It's the addiction to the story, but it's also an addiction to that excitement. So then it doesn't matter what the story is. And some of those stories, you can feel that excitement more obviously, perhaps. And some of those stories, it's more subtle. But you might notice it in the chest area. You might have a kind of, like, I mean, I'm exaggerating it now, but it's, if you consider, I mean, one of the main reasons why people struggle with these kind of stories and aren't able to just let them go just like that is because of this addiction to the high of it, even if it's a negative story. And the high is that meaning for me. It's feeding a me.
It's like, for example, I noticed there's this like thought usually, if there's like an old wound that arises, and I'm being present with it, there's like a subtle usually story that like first like I cannot be free until I heal from whatever this is, because it's like very uncomfortable. And then usually when there is like a kind of a transformation happening because of being present with it, there is like some kind of story of, okay, now you're safe, or now you're in a better place, or now it will be okay from now on, or something like that, Then there's like, it's more subtle kind of, but it's
it can be a positive story or a negative story, but when it's a story about me, it feeds this excitement that you can feel actually physically. So really it doesn't matter what the story is.
And without it, like as you said, if I'm like, who am I without it? There's like, it's like it feels suddenly boring, or like it's like you kind of lost, or like who am I without coffee?
Yes, exactly. It's exactly that. So coffee gives you the high, like the feeling of being alive. Okay, I'm alive with this me story, and without this me story, everything's a bit flat at first in comparison, because most of the time we're used to existing in this world, playing in this world as from these highs and lows of the me. And as we start to see through these, then everything can feel a bit flat at first, until we get used to the more subtle ways of being. And just to say that I'm not saying that you should try to get rid of these me stories, but to just become more aware of them and to bring the attention to the sensations of them. And in that way, they will lose their power naturally by themselves.
But when I feel like this boredom, let's say that, like, okay, if I'm losing at least the attachment to that and it feels boring, is it just to stay with this kind of like threat of, you know, annihilation or total boredom, or, you know, like feeling lost? It's just like,
Yeah, staying with it. Yeah, feeling, you know, beyond the thoughts there, but just staying with the sensation that even that doesn't mean anything about you. You know, because the thinking will go on saying, oh, and now that means something about me. And then when you feel into that, thought will come in again. Oh, well, now that means something about me. And you just keep feeling into it, no matter what thought says. And no matter what meaning for me thought might give it, it's never true. Okay. Thank you.
Hi, Umani. My name's Zoe.
Yeah,
Can you?
Yes, now I can see you. Yes. Hi.
Hi. I really have been getting a lot out of this, and actually, just as I was listening to you and all of the shares, I started actually feeling more afraid of not having any meaning, and what you've just been talking about, and just everything feels meaningless, and even like the greatest sensations of like being in love, it just all feels fake. And yeah, I know that you kind of were just talking about this, but yeah, I guess it's just feeling really empty and boring.
Yeah. I understand. Yeah. Yeah. And it seems, you know, for the mind, it seems boring and meaningless and flat and kind of like, what's the point, you know? Because, as I said, you know, the mind has been used to living from the highs and the lows. So then everything that isn't a high or a low is boring for me. Right. So even the boredom is being referred to a me. But when we have longed for peace, at some point, perhaps you longed for peace, this is the peace. You know, for the mind, it's boring. Peace is boring. Yeah, there's not much happening in peace. You know, but actually, it's deeply relaxing. It's just that we have to adjust to it at first, as we kind of come down from the high of the drug that we've been on for most of our lives, right? The drug of me, the meaning for me, which is the most powerful drug there is. So we're coming down off that drug, and, you know, naturally we, you know, when we've been on a high, we have a low for a while. But if you can see that even that meaninglessness or that state of flatline doesn't mean anything about me either, then it can come out of kind of negative numbers back up to zero, to just, okay, this is just how it is. It's true that everything is meaningless, but this isn't a negative thing. This isn't a problem for me. It's just reality. Everything is meaningless. But this is freedom, not but, and this is freedom. The very fact that it is meaningless.
Thank you. Yeah, I think that's going to take a while to sink in, but yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, Mani.
Who's that? I can't see.
Marian.
Oh, Marian. Hi, Marian.
Hello.
Hi.
Really enjoyed your input today. Actually, this thing of feeling high really resonated with me. With a little story I had recently in the last couple of days, because I'm planning actually to go to Brazil to spend Christmas with my family out there. And my nephew, out of the blue, sent me a taxation bill from the Brazilian government of about £10,000 equivalent, you know. And I said, "What the heck is this?" You know, and at first I just laughed. I said, "Oh, I don't know this money, for heaven's sake. You know, I don't even live there. You know, what's all this about? You know." And I saw how I got excited about it. You know, I was laughing about it and everything, and I felt it in my body. And then I picked up my phone to speak to my brother, and he said, "Mary, that's fake. You know, it can only be fake. You know, because everything's fake nowadays. It's fake news." But anyway, he said, you know, his son will go to the government, to the department, to check it out. You see, on Monday, tomorrow. But I really felt that sensation, that high, you know. Even talking to you now, you know, there, you know, I can feel it in the body, you know, and you know, and the drama, you know, is it true? Is it not true? You know, like, it's not true, can't be true, you know. But if it is,
Yeah.
so it was really interesting, this high thing.
Yeah.
And then I sort of passed, and I thought, even on a subtler level, you know, I don't know, even when I'm looking at cards, you know, and I see that something, because actually what was interesting was that the cards that I pulled out recently said exactly that, you know, that you are going through, you know, things to show you, you know, experiences to show you, you know. And I said, it's just so interesting, you know, the synchronicity of everything, you know. But yeah, the high thing, you know, I really felt it.
Yeah. It's nice to notice it. You know, you just notice it, and you're not trying to get rid of it or do anything
Mm.
with it. It's just, oh, like, wow, that's fascinating. Like, I'm getting high now
Yeah,
from the drama,
yeah,
like make big drama. Ooh,
yeah.
you know.
What have I been up to that I don't know?
Yeah, what does this mean about me? You know,
Yeah,
am I going to be in trouble, or am I?
yeah. Yeah. And
In a way, that high, I mean, I'm calling it a high, but it triggers a kind of survival mechanism that we feel physically. And I call it a high because there's a kind of rush of adrenaline. And it might be subtle, but still it's a rush of adrenaline. And that's the addiction, that we get addicted to that rush.
Yeah. I certainly felt it.
Mhm. Okay.
So thank you so much. Thank you so much for bringing it to the forefront.
Mm.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
Jean-Marc.
Hi.
Hi.
Yes, I don't know if what I have to say is has something to do with the subject, today's subject. I received a message this afternoon from my niece. My younger sister is about to die. I don't know, in a very short time now. And my first feeling I felt in the chest, I felt angry in the chest. Yeah. That's not the first time. It was the same with my father years and years ago. And this message arrives too late in a way, because I asked my sister many times to visit her before it's too late. And now it seems it's too late, and I know that it's my sister's will to not receive someone from the family. So she doesn't want, so and I'm angry about that.
Yeah, which is understandable. Angry, and maybe also under that, the pain of that.
Yes, there is something under the pain, and that's what is difficult at the moment, because the pain is there, but the anger is there too.
Yeah.
Because I remember that it was something very important to go and see my mother when she was about to die. In fact, I received the call a few hours before she died. There is something like a relief to go to the end, until she goes away.
Yeah. And you still cannot go and see your sister?
I don't know. I sent a message to my niece and I'd see. Or she asks to my sister if she wants to receive me. But I know she hides. My niece said that this year she hid a lot of things about her health to the family, to our husband and children too.
Yeah.
So there is suffering being associated with the anger, in fact.
So with the anger, where do you feel it in your body right now?
The chest mainly.
The chest.
And,
Yeah.
But there is also the fear to speak about that.
Mm. So
Um,
there's fear as well as anger.
yes, both.
Yeah. And if we were to ask that anger to speak, what would it want to say?
There is sadness. We had a very good relationship when we were kids. I was 14 years older, but I remember playing with her when she was a kid. And it stopped very soon when she became an adult. And we almost never met after that. It was very...
Mm. But what does the anger want to say? Does it want to say something?
Maybe I'm not recognized. There is something like this. Yes, with my father, it was like this. My father didn't recognize me in a way. Yeah.
So you don't feel recognized by her?
That's weird. It seems weird.
Things can be weird. Life is weird.
My wish is that we still to have this relationship we had when we were
Yeah.
kid for me, but very young.
Yeah, it's painful.
It stopped.
Yeah. Change is painful. And letting go of how things once were and feeling the pain of that is the acceptance, the pain, the anger, the fear.
Yes, because I know I won't go past her will. If she doesn't want to receive me now, I won't go there. So
Then
I have to process it myself.
Yeah. Then you're alone with processing that.
Mm-hmm. And maybe that's where the anger comes from, in fact, because I'm alone now with that.
Yeah. Maybe you write something for her to express how you feel in writing. Whether you give it to her or not, she reads it or not is not so much the point, but that you write how you feel. And if you have a chance to give it to her, that would be wonderful.
Let the anger speak.
Yeah, let the anger, the pain, the loss, the loss of the connection that you had when you were children, the love, right? The love that's underneath all of it.
Yeah, all this, it's a bit like it had no value in the end because the relationship suddenly stopped.
Yeah, but for you it has value. And I know that writing is often a very powerful tool for you. I mean, for everybody, but you've been much supported by writing. So maybe in writing a letter to her, starting with dear, or really writing a letter to her with everything that you want to say. then at least in a way you're not alone with it. Then you can share it and express it to her. Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. We have time maybe for one last question or dialogue. Ruth.
You hear me?
Yes, I do. Hi, Ruth.
Hi. A little bit late, so I jumped in, but
No problem.
yes. I have a very simple children question. Can we exist? Can we exist in body and everything what we know from ourselves without this me? I wonder how I can exist. It's a miracle.
Yeah, it is a miracle. But the thing is that you already exist without a separate me. That's already the miracle, you know. It's just that, you know, we believe that there is a separate me, and then we think that I must struggle to maintain and protect this separate me. And that's what causes the suffering, right? But when we see that there is no separate me already, that we're just pretending, we're playing as if I'm in here, talking to you in there, you know. And when we see that it's just a play as if, then we're free to play fully as being a separate person. But we always are just, we're kind of secretly laughing inside, you know, knowing that it's just a joke, that I'm never really this person.
How comes that in this moment you say this to me, to this me? I am in a stream with you, and I feel connected, and I feel it's so true, and it's easy, simple, no words needed. But I know from memory and also from the projection to the future that when I'm alone, it's gone, this connection.
Yeah, well, you know, it seems that there is something beautiful about, of course, coming together to consciously acknowledge this, that we really are. And that always will carry a certain energy. But when you are alone, nothing's changed, really. You know, it's just the experience is different. And but, you know, it does help perhaps to support yourself by little reminders, you know, by, for example, when you notice the thinking starting to make a story, well, you might remember something that I've said, like, you know, that it doesn't mean anything about me, for example. That's a nice one to remember. So then the thought might come in, the thought that remembers this, saying, oh, remember, it doesn't mean anything about me. You know, to be a helpful thought, it's still a thought. It's one thought telling the other thoughts, but this can be helpful to let go of that meaning in the moment. And then you come
You
back to
mean-
the simple.
Mani, you mean in this sentence that doesn't mean anything about me? There you use the me in the truth sense, because
Yeah.
Okay,
The only sense.
it's confusing. The me's for me.
Yeah, because, the mechanism, those kinds of thoughts, those stories are referring to a me. Like, this means that I'm a bad person, for example. And if you remember in that moment, yeah, but it doesn't really mean anything about me, then you can remember that actually this sensation or this experience or whatever you've done or said, it doesn't have that connection to a me. It doesn't mean anything about me, because who am I? Right? Who is this me? There's no one here. It's just life playing its own game with itself.
Super.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Well, first of all, I want to let you know that the next webinar is in a month's time, and it's something, the title is How to Stop My Busy Mind. So that's an interesting one. But then much sooner, in fact, this week, I'm holding a grief circle online. It'll be this Thursday, the 8th of December. And all the information is on my website. But it's for those who have lost loved ones recently, or perhaps years ago. It's for those who are grieving or have been grieving, and want to come together with people who can relate and understand what you're going through. Yeah, and this is the first grief circle I'll be holding online. I've held grief circles before, but and I would like to start doing this once a month. So come and join me for the first one this Thursday, if you feel moved and if you feel that this is something for you. Okay, well, thank you very much, everybody. It was a pleasure, as always. See you next time. Lots of love.